we're back, and we have, woo! Now that's some enthusiasm. We have a little bit of time to have a little contest before we move on to our next match. We have some prizes, at least a couple t-shirts and a pretty kick-ass Patriot like USB stick. And the way it's gonna work is that you gotta earn it. And all you have to do to earn it is beat a pro gamer. But because there's no way you scrubs in your whole life could possibly beat a pro gamer in StarCraft 2, instead we'll play rock, paper, scissors. So is there any noob in the audience that would like to come on stage and face a real pro gamer in rock, paper, scissors for a chance to win some prizes? This guy was first, so I'll take him first. And you were second. Just going in order, man. Fair's fair.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. What's your name?
Malte.
Have we met before?
No. Ah, yes. I have the t-shirt from yesterday.
Oh, you're gonna win another one.
No, but I buy a new t-shirt and then next year.
All right, are you ready to meet the pro gamer who's gonna whoop you? Are you ready to meet the pro gamer?
Yes.
All right, let's bring out Empire Kaz. With a big smile. All right, guys. I'm gonna referee. Remember, it's on 3, best of 5. All right? Are you ready to go? Let's get it on. I will count. 1, 2, 3. Oh, like that. And they both learned from Artosis. That's really great. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Scissor. Rock. All right. 1, 2, 3. Oh! Well, 1-0 here. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Double scissor. Artosis would be shaking his head, man. Never go double scissor. Ever. Okay, man. You ready? He's not gonna 3-0 you, is he, man? 1, 2, 3. Oh, paper. And 1, 2, 3. Whoa! Kaz coming back. Here we go, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, 3-1. Again today. Aww. Sorry, man. Thank you. That's my t-shirt. And we're going to bring someone else up, right? One more person. We got one more t-shirt. Oh, yeah, this guy. I promised you already. Hey, man. What's your name?
Alexander.
Hi, Alexander. Are you ready to defeat Empire Kaz 3-1? No, it's all right, man. Are you ready? I'm gonna count to 3. All right? 1, 2, 3. Ooh. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, rock. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm trying to. 1, 2, 3. This is deja vu, man. You don't practice RPS much, do you? All right. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and here comes your 3-1, buddy. 1, 2, 3. Oh, fighting. All right. 1, 2, 3. Well won, man. Congratulations. Yeah, one more, man. Super epic. But for this one, man, where's Carmack? Carmack. Come here, man. We need a real. Carmack is a professional RPS player. I'm not kidding. He thinks he's the best in the world. He's linked me to all these websites talking about strategy of rock, paper, scissors. And you're gonna come here right now, man. You gotta represent, man. Kaz is bombing here. Come on up. Kaz bombed the rock, paper, scissors, man. They need a champion to win the memory stick. They gotta beat a champion like you. Pretty nice. Who thinks they can... Those suspenders, man. Come on, suspenders. Let's go. Okay. Oh, dude, you are a finely dressed young man. Are you ready? What's your name?
Yeah, I'm Devin.
Devin.
I thought you were bringing out Carmack. What's Demaga doing here?
That's what you get. Okay, man. I'm not gonna count this one because that's weird. Kaz asked me to do that. I think it's weird. So, you know how it works, right? 1, 2, bang. All right. Well, go. What the? I tried to warn you, man. Maybe there actually is a skill to this game. I'm sorry, man. It's all right. Okay, well, we'll try one more person. One more person? One more person, quick, that guy, let's go. Okay, yeah? Super fast. Hey, man, nice to meet you. What's your name?
Victor.
Hey, Victor, are you ready to lose? Let's get it on. Oh, son! Good job, man. That is a fine piece of machinery. And you ready to move on, man? Do you want to watch some more StarCraft? Do you guys want to watch some more StarCraft? Oh, I love it. I do. Do you want to meet our players who are very good, who are both from Korea, who have both shown us the entire tournament that they are the top of the top? Let's bring them up. Our Terran player from Team Startail, Bomber. Lots of friends. And his opponent from Team Azubu, the funny man, viOLet. Did you want to say anything to each other? Very mannered. I didn't understand that. It's all right. And take it away.
Thank you very much, Jarrett, on the main stage, and welcome back to the casting desk here for the Intel Extreme Masters day number 4 here with the opening round of this bracket. My name's Kyle Loris.
My name is day number 9, and I'm pretty excited to see how these two players are going to mesh up. Previously, Bomber fell to a number of Zerg players in sort of uncomfortable ways in the last few tournaments. Just some very simple, I got overrun at the front. There were too many Zerglings, and I was just caught off guard with my early pressure. We saw him actually struggle quite a bit in the open bracket here today. And then even in his round robin group, losing some notable games. I'm actually opening up the statistics right now. Losing to Moonglade 0-2 badly to Lingmuta Baneling play.
Yeah, Moonglade really kind of caught him off guard there, and I think Moonglade caught a lot of people off guard going into that group stage. Not a lot of people really knew which level he was at, but at the meetup last night that we had and stuff like that, I was just talking to him about how I was so impressed with his level of play, able to really still stand up to the international players that we have here.
Yeah. And I mean, given the way that viOLet's been playing consistently, I mean, we got the chance to see viOLet play earlier today against Elfie, performed brilliantly in that series. I would actually unusually give viOLet the favorite in this series due to the fact that he's so counterattack focused. He does still like Lingmuta Baneling, which weirdly we've seen dominate Terrans as of late.
Yeah, and I mean, viOLet, he's looked a little more stable in the opening days, but Bomber has really gathered momentum throughout this tournament. Again, he looked a little bit shaky, but going into that group play, he was okay there and was able to power out some really, really phenomenal games, aside from, you know, the 1 or 2 losses to Moonblade.
Yeah, I mean, Bomber has kind of had like a weird history where he was doing really well, and then he had this dip down for a long time, and now he's started to climb back up, and of all Terrans, he's looking the strongest in the Terran versus Protoss matchup. Just so smooth, but it's his Terran versus Zerg that was weirdly looking quite shaky. He has a tendency to fall back on his historical play, which is just 3 base, wait. Okay, we're max. Let's attack for the first time ever.
Exactly.
And now he kind of does that. He'll do like a push out with some Combat Shield Marines and some Hellions, and then it might work, it might not. And then he takes 3 bases and pushes out when he's maxed. So there's, it's not quite the way that we see Teja playing, which is just attack, 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 attack.
Yeah, and I mean, Bomber, in my opinion, in terms of TVZ, in past months even, was ahead of the curve. He was doing things that no other Terran was. Again, you know, putting walls in specific places that other Terrans weren't. And it was really hard for Zergs to like adapt to that kind of style that Bomber was bringing out. Now, people have caught up a little bit. They're bringing him a bit more aggravation, but he still really, really does have very, very strong TVZ.
Now, in terms of viOLet, I think I would generally call him, I wanted to say I wouldn't call him the best defensive player, but his defense is great. He's an extremely solid defender, but that's not really what he's known for, per se. He's known for counterattacking, opting for base trades. And we even saw that the way a lot of Zergs were dealing with the Hellion Banshee play that's so popular is opening up with a lot of aggressive roach pushing, trying to get in the face of the opponent right away, but then painfully losing after the roach push did a ton of damage. But I think viOLet is the sort of player who's excellent at doing those kind of pushes and then following it up with the right droning, the right teching, the right transitioning. And I honestly think that Bomber is going to do basically the same thing that everyone else has been doing. The Hellion Banshee opening. I would love to see some sort of Marine base openings, though.
Yeah, and again, you know, whilst there is always that Hellion Banshee opening that is so popular right now, as you rightly point out, there's just those small contingents of Marines, like, you know, skirting the edges of the map in order to be able to try and find that third once it's arising. And, you know, Bomber can mix that into his play, but it's more Supernova that we end up seeing that kind of play from. And I'm still, you know, I mean, talking about Supernova, he is looking really, really good in this tournament. Bomber is going to have his work cut out for him, not only here, but if he ends up going on to those later rounds to be able to play people like Supernova.
But this is a real chance for Bomber to get his big win. He had a win in MLG long ago. He's been looking for another big foreign championship. And this is looking like it might be his chance. Game number 1 getting started right now. A best of 5 between viOLet and Bomber. 2 tip-top GSL players getting started on Entombed Valley.
I love the format of this tournament, the best of 5s all the way through this closing bracket, and then that best of 7 to come in the finals. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, opening up onto Entombed Valley, spawning in the top left-hand position, spawning as our red Terran, we do have Startails Bomber.
Down in the bottom right, so good. He's one of the few players in existence who can get that individual sponsorship. Sponsored by Azubu, it is viOLet.
Now, Entombed Valley, one of those maps where Terrans do enjoy taking quick thirds, but again, it can still be a little bit precarious, depending on whether or not they're able to have enough firepower to really bring down those rocks. Zergs like to be able to exploit the fact that that third's gone up a little bit quicker with, you know, a lot of speedling aggression if they actually does occur. But for now, Bomber, you know, he does play that, you know, very standard style, but again, with those light drop aggressions, we saw earlier in the tournament, those double-pronged drops, being able to really, really stretch his Zerg opponents thinly.
I would like to see those nice drop plays coming out of Bomber, and oh, please, please build another barracks, Bomber. Oh God, I'll do anything to have him build another barracks. I love barracks openings on this map. Due to the small distances, it's even a possibility that he will go expand, then barracks play. I mean, completely ignoring the expected Hellion Banshee strategy that we've seen a lot of, this map is small enough to where the slow Marines can put adequate pressure on Zerg players. Oh, high five, Killaris.
Oh, nice one done.
I'm so thrilled to see this early barracks play. I just love 2 racks aggression. viOLet, excellent at defending it, and he'll give us a nice little course how, or he'll lose.
Well, those are definitely the 2 options, as viOLet, yeah, he's been able to deal with a lot of bunker pressure in the past, and scouting that out with the drone, he's going to know exactly what's coming if it does end up traversing across the map. And again, you know, he's very, very patient about his defenses about this. He ends up getting that initial spine crawler for the most part in order to be able to just say, you know, well, if you're going to push, keep leaping forwards with these bunkers, eventually that is going to take a lot of damage. It does outrange those Marines by 1 when they're in that bunker. And, you know, just buffers with the lings in order to be able to go for that thing. But also, his drone control is very good. He's able to take out the SCVs, most importantly, making the bunker initially than anything else.
Ooh, this one SCV did some nice scouting, but it does see that Overlord. If Bomber doesn't actually wait. What? This is a weird play. No, one Marine out, a single Marine.
He's completely faked him out. That was fantastic by Bomber. He's like delayed so much income. Look at the income tab. It's 800 quid.
These drones are like,
my God.
Where'd the Marines go?
Oh, Bomber with the deception here, limiting the amount of money viOLet is going to have in these early stages. And look, he's even getting a spine crawler. And all these lings. This is such an overreaction from viOLet.
Unreal play from Bomber. What a move. God, viOLet's even scared to move out mid-map. He's even building his second spine crawler. He's so confused. Oh my God, what a play.
The thing is, though, this shows that viOLet understands the severity of the situation. It's a single elimination bracket here. You can't start losing games to just, you know, some kind of bunker rush that's going to poke in. It's like pretty much a free win for a Terran at the start of a series if you end up letting it go unchecked. So he kind of just goes completely over the top with that defense. And look at that. Normally after this barracks play, Terrans are behind in terms of supply, but viOLet with all of this kind of
oh my God, a third spine
What is going on?
viOLet is so confused. But the only reason he canceled that is because he floated in and saw another command center going down.
And he's actually going to lose this Overlord as well up to the north here. This is a catastrophic opener here from viOLet as Bomber is just eking out every little advantage possible, throwing down those refineries now in order to be able to tech up to the very standard potential factory tech or even just throw add-ons on these barracks.
God, how do you recover from this as viOLet? This has been a near perfect play from Bomber.
Now, I mean, he's getting the creep going, which is going to aid him very, very nicely in terms of defenses, but those Marines are still on the way once again. I think they're just going to check that third location again here, which is something that Bomber's been advocating a lot in his TVZs, and making sure that that's not going down, because he knows his opponent overreacted to a certain degree. He doesn't know the full extent of it, as he didn't see all the drones coming out to the middle of the map. He didn't see the 2 spine crawlers as of yet. So he checks the third, making sure that, you know, it's not there, and for now, keeping fine and dandy.
Factory in place for Bomber. Given what we've seen of him historically, he should probably be getting a single Tech Lab add-on and then doing a Combat Shield Hellion push. That's what we've been seeing out of him in the last few games. Oh, a 2 factory play. This is kind of nifty. But I don't actually think it's very strong if he's going to be going Blue Flame Hellion. That would actually be quite weird. I mean, he's already forced his opponent to do things other than Zerglings, and then he's building something that is strong against Zerglings. Okay, looks like he's going to be going for somewhat of a mech play. That's actually totally fine. With 4 barracks wall off, this is a nice way to open up with a mech mixture. You have enough barracks to wall off. You have enough Marines up to be able to bunker these key locations, and you actually are going to take your 3rd command center real fast.
Yeah, and I like the mech play off the back of what's actually happened here in this game. He still doesn't fully understand the severity of how much viOLet kind of overreacted there in the beginning. But once viOLet goes into the mid-game, he's very, very happy to go, you know, Ling, Bane, Infester, or Ling, Bane, Muta sometimes, which is a bit more uncommon now in my opinion. But, I mean, Bomber is going to be able to soar in terms of this macro, that 3rd command center done and dusted. And once he establishes his 3rd base at the actual location itself, he's going to have such a wealthy and healthy economy here to be able to really, really fuel this very terrifying force.
So, you know, it's kind of funny because we were talking about this beforehand, that Bomber used to just be 3 base, get maxed, go. And then he's, again, doing exactly this. Doing an attack. And then getting max and 3 base and go. Okay, cool. I mean, getting these Hellions up are going to be kind of decent. They're not going to be fantastic. We see the Roach Warren going down. viOLet playing as calmly and collectively as he can. Still maintaining the lead in that worker count. After those Hellions have revealed themselves, now Bomber will likely be pulling back, using some of these barracks to wall off this side and leave this front open.
Yeah, it's a good job Bomber didn't push out just a little bit later there. He would have ended up revealing that blue flame to those Zerglings, potentially, if he hadn't have just continued moving during that entire time. And once you reveal something like blue flame to a Zerg, then they know pretty well what's going to be going on from there on. So that's very important to keep that kind of tech hidden. Meanwhile, that third going to be established here for Bomber as clear reconstitution's on the way, and +1 melee weapons as well as Carapace. So it's clear here that viOLet just wants the Roaches there in order to be able to ward him during this mid game, but it's really ramping it up to prepare for that late game with that Infestor, Ling, kind of Brood, or even Ultras if he does desire.
So it looks like viOLet starting to mass up some units, but oh man, he's going to be in for a world of pain. There are Blue Flame Hellions, a couple Marines joining into the force, but nicely placed Spine Crawlers by viOLet, and Bomber's just going to scan and pick off these creep tumors. Not going to have the biggest effect on things since it is a mech army where you're going to be faster than it anyways, but viOLet correctly making a lot of Roaches in this circumstance, and Bomber is just not an aggressive player. He's just carefully setting himself up.
For now, we do have that double extra gas being taken at that third by Bomber. He's going to be able to ramp up that production very nicely with an abundance of gas to be able to fuel this mech. Clear reconstitution almost finished for these Roaches. How many Roaches do you actually have out to deal with? There's 8 Roaches right now, with a few more on the way to be able to deal with this Hellion aggression. And again, it's so important to have them in the composition against these Blue Flame Hellions. If they dart in, your Lings are not really going to do too much, but there's still those 2 Banelings at the top of this ramp. He really needs to be careful if he's going to push up.
Oh, Ling's coming down. Will he get the surround? The Marines form an amazing wall. Lings get roasted immediately. And now Bomber also, too, getting his Marines cleaned up.
Nice little defense there by viOLet, just shooing him away, don't come anywhere near my base. Again, as you pointed out earlier, I really like the Spine Crawler positioning. Just at the bottom of the ramp as opposed to at the top of the ramp, it really does alert, it alerted viOLet just a little bit earlier to the threat that was available there.
Now, in a typical Zerg vs. Terran, the big resource you need is gas. Mutalisks, Infestors, Banelings, upgrades, all of them require gas. Lings are really the only mineral thing that you're going to want. But against mech, minerals are more important than gas. Having lots of units with speed, counterattacking, that's what's important. It's all about exploiting the immobility of mech. If you continue to counterattack, the enemy has to stay pinned back home. If you continue to counterattack, there's more opportunities for him to make a mistake.
Yep, and he will be getting that +2 weapons on and running, as well as that +2 armor here for him to be able to just get that mech flooding in as quickly as possible. It's going to be able to do quite a lot of damage, but meanwhile, the Hellions trying to find another opening, not going to be able to do so though. viOLet taking precautions on every little angle here whilst getting that 4th. And, you know, Entombed Valley can be a really, really good map to go up against mech as long as you're able to, again, exploit those, you know, alternate attack paths.
I'd love to see another hatchery go down for viOLet, not as an expansion, but literally another macro hatch, even in the main. Going Ling Roach, there's the Neural Parasite. That's a nice play, but still, the Zerglings and the Roaches are the key core units that you really need. Bomber setting himself up with a lot of orbital commands. This is a good way to snap into a reinforcement. After you start losing a lot of those units, you can easily replenish tons of mules, easily get a really big force of viOLet with an excellent little burrow maneuver.
Look at this, Bomber has actually already gone up to around 8 command centers at the 15-minute mark. I mean, who does this? You were saying before that Bomber just sits around and, you know, maxes out, but this is overkill. This is just so much macro he's going to have very, very soon, and from there on, he's going to be able to replenish this mech so fast off the back of these 4 bases.
Bomber actually looks like he's setting himself up to get Ravens at some point. Here's an attempted counterattack. Will viOLet recognize in fungal growth? And of course he will. He's viOLet. He nabs all those immediately. A single SCV, or excuse me, Hellion manages to sneak in. And here comes viOLet. Oh, baby. He's going to find every single one of these Hellions. There aren't any infestors in sight. Snuck on over to the right side. He's got to be careful. He's going to be right in missile turret range real soon. Oh, viOLet
Whoa,
is
whoa, whoa.
springing into action, hits the tanks when they're unsieged, and will lose all these roaches almost immediately.
He's killing a lot of roaches, but he also killed a lot of tanks there as well. I mean, one of the important things for Bomber was, you know, darting around with those Hellions, was keeping those alive against the roaches, because eventually they're going to be the units that are soaking up the damage from any roaches later on, once the bigger engagement comes. But he lost, how many tanks did he lose? He lost quite a few there.
I mean, he plummeted down to 6. I remember seeing 16 before then. A huge number of tanks. Infestors now still in position. This Hellion counterattack. I mean, viOLet just always seems to have this Infestor in the right place. It seems a little bit fortunate now. viOLet continuing to try to step in with these roaches. This seems like a little bit of a misplay. He is going to try to push up to the top, but this is why this 4 barracks opening is so common when going for a mech play like this. It provides the exact wall off you need to guarantee no counterattacks, unless viOLet does something like this, bring in all them roaches.
Oh, he's going to try and push in forwards here. The siege tanks moving back to try and find themselves a little bit of comfort as they do siege up against these roaches. Don't want to be taking them on without that siege tech. And for now, that Greater Spire morphing on in here. We have 9 Corruptors being added on for viOLet as he does rocket up to that Broodlord tech in just a little bit.
Ooh, risky move for Bomber. He's pushing down front and center. viOLet is buying himself so much time with all these little runarounds, and now this north expansion is vulnerable to roaches. Would definitely benefit from doing a big push. This is a perfect time to counterattack. viOLet very carefully trying to eliminate these units at the front, but still needs to make a big play at the north. A nice nab yet again, but still roaches trading for Hellions. Oh, viOLet taking too many steps forward. I mean, you got to realize 60 damage a shot plus splash equals dead roaches en masse.
Does indeed. I still like, though, that viOLet was able to take those Hellions. Very, very useful thing to have as you know, if you're able to take them, again, that's the shield gone. And look at this, he just throws down Infested Terrans across the entire siege tank line there, killing off 2 or 3 siege tanks for just a few Infested Terrans. A really nice little move there by viOLet.
And now we see viOLet continuing to try to step forward, but 9 Broodlords are in production. I see them there on the tab. Where are they hiding? Where are you, little Broodlords? Ah, I found them.
Nicely done, nicely done.
The Bomber's still taking a lot of bases, just securing things up really nicely, already able to make 4 Vikings at a time. Tanks starting to move out. These are going to be free tanks for viOLets real soon.
Yeah, he's straying onto creep slightly here. Doesn't want to go too far. He's going to be able to take down these spine crawlers, but if the mobility of viOLet's enough, these siege tanks are well out of siege tech. But few there being left behind. Actually, this siege tank line goes far back, so far. And but now he will be able to rain down a little bit of terror on this position. But those Broodlords, actually, he needs to retreat. There's nothing here to deal with the Broodlords.
Roach is still getting into an aggressive counterattacking position. Tanks will pull back, but viOLet's going to be able to nab those up right away. Suddenly, Bomber's in a little bit of an awkward spot. Really, his only ticket to a win here is if he starts getting more and more Ravens. He can't really afford to attack. He's going to have to hope that he can get into a super huge win situation by a couple of landed Seeker missiles. But for right now, viOLet's going to be trundling forward to the front lines. 22 roaches in production.
Yep, he's going to max out once again here. I like what he's doing in the sense that he's keeping the mech down in terms of unit count, but really this is going to get very, very difficult to deal with. Nice fungals on some of these Vikings, and actually he gets both packs there with those fungal growths. Right now, though, the Broodlord's taking a lot of damage from these. The Vikings just so out of range of these Corruptors that are just not being able to chew through them quickly enough, and the tanks take out the rest of the ground floors.
There it looks like there's still more reinforcements from viOLet. He's bringing in more and more roaches, infestors. viOLet may have been able to break the front. The mech play from Bomber far too passive, hitting at the wrong angles at the wrong time, and now viOLet springing into the fray. Those infestors are still just burrowed. They are being revealed by that missile turret, but they're not really doing anything just yet. Once they're able to go for it, though, they will throw down a few infested terrors once again, trying to bring down these siege tanks. So many infested terrors land right next to the siege tanks here to be able to rip those apart, and the roaches helping out in turn. This is one of these weird moments where it looks like Bomber's taking a lot of damage. He's losing a bunch of units, but with mech, you're not trying to get anything up fast. You are trying to get maxed, and as long as you're maxed, you're in great shape.
Yeah.
After all that exchanging, Bomber's going to have a very easy, comfortable time getting maxed. All Bomber has to do is not overbuild Vikings.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, once again here, Bomber only has the 51 SCVs to the 68 drones. So again, he is just relying on the fact that his army is going to be so much more efficient once he gets up and running. But with how viOLet is playing, he's not going to let it get up and running. He's got +3 finishing in just a second for these roaches. He constantly keeps pushing in, picking off any kind of unit he wants to if he finds that little bit of weakness. And look at this, these infestors sharking in for some kills.
Nice positioning by a viOLet. He's going to just hang out for a bit. Has all these gas geysers running, is just claiming expansions left and right. Actually, flub a little bit there.
There's one roach here hanging out by the 5th base, right next to this Plancher Fortress. Hashtag Auto Tracken's on the way, and one siege tank comes along to be able to kill him off. Meanwhile, loads of infested Terrans actually rain down on this 3rd location to be able to start putting on this aggression here from viOLet. Really nicely done, slowly limiting Bomber.
And there it is, the counterattack special, exactly how you need to act against a meching player. viOLet is just pulling his opponent every which way. Now the Infestor's resting up at this top spot. What a sweet play from viOLet.
Meanwhile, we had a few Hellions down to the south here, trying to kill off some drones in one of these bases. They get quite a few, but, you know, with that burrow tech, very, very useful here for viOLet. Just ripping up everything here in the main of Bomber. It's so difficult to really deal with these roaches constantly. And even if all these roaches die, I mean, it's going to take them a while to, even contaminating one of those factories. He's just going to replenish off the back of this and constantly keep Bomber dancing around the map.
Oh, no. It looks like the vehicle weapon level 3, the ship upgrade level 3 gets taken down. viOLet doing an excellent job keeping roaches burrowed, everything in multiple places. Bomber realizing that he overbuilt Vikings, time to kick into action. He's just taking out as many overlords as he can. Oh, viOLet is in a lot of trouble from the air.
He really is. The supplies count evens up here as Bomber lands those Vikings to try and put on the
what
aggression.
An answer. He's going to take out the... No, it looks like he isn't taking out the Evolution Chamber. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He started firing the hatcheries. Meanwhile, the top expansions, we do see that those infestors are still burrowed. Lifting, landing. Oh.
The +3 is going to finish here, and that's going to make these roaches so much more viable, as well as those infested Terrans that the infestors are going to be able to lob out in just a bit.
I feel like Bomber knows. I feel like he knows something is there.
Yeah? You think?
Oh.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Let's see in the Bomber cam.
He's just leaving them for now. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. As for now, we have even more factories going down here for Bomber, trying to replenish that infrastructure that was lost moments ago. viOLet, though, he's been able to transition to even more Broodlords. He's got 8 Broodlords out right now to be able to complement those 14 Infestors, and those Infestors in the 3rd, looking to put on some aggression once again.
We do see the roaches get taken out. Infestors hiding up at the top side because viOLet's just trying to make sure that he can keep Bomber pulled every which way. Amazingly, Bomber has lost more resources than viOLet. That is almost never the case against a meching player. But note that Bomber's still doing just fine in terms of all these orbital commands. He's able to mule up like crazy. 48 SCVs plus many mules gives him a really, really solid economy. Hasn't really thrown down any mules recently. We see viOLet taking the lead there, but viOLet's going to continue to keep expanding across map opposite sides.
And as you rightly said, look at this. He's adding on tech labs to these starports, so he looks to be going for a little bit of a transition here very, very soon into potentially those Ravens, which are going to be very, very deadly for viOLet to deal with if he keeps those units clumped up. And we've already seen a few times in this tournament thus far how devastating Ravens can be, A, if they're not scouted, and B, if they're allowed to get up.
Yeah, but I mean, we got the chance to talk about that quite a bit earlier in the game, that there's really not a lot of good attacking angles for Bomber. Bomber now springing in. He's going to use his Blue Flame Hellions to take down these burning buildings. Now he's going to run right into a bunch of Infestors and get absolutely, totally smashed in the face by a bunch of Broodlords. But viOLet, I think, has actually made an error by going for Broodlords. If he went for more Roaches, if he went for Ultralisks, Nidus Worms, Bomber would slowly start losing expansions. I mean, Nidus Worm here, killing off this. Nidus Worm in the main, killing this off. How does this slow Thor tank army deal with it? It actually can't. It's physically impossible. But now, with these slow Broodlords, plenty of time for Ravens to start production for Bomber, and he only needs 4 or 5 landed Seeker missiles to kill this whole Broodlord force.
No, you're right. It's almost counterintuitive. Like, why would you try and counter an immobile, almost invincible army with an immobile army? You want to really exploit its weaknesses, infested territory raining down on all of this location, and actually, how many of these orbitals is he going to be able to get? Those +3 weapons doing so much damage.
Weapons, holy crap, these orbital commands are falling so quickly. He's going to get 3 orbital commands. What a play from viOLet.
Very nicely done there. It will get cleaned up finally by this mech, but again, losing that kind of macro potential there for Bomber. A little bit devastating here, as he doesn't have that much of a bank. Look how much viOLet has in terms of that economy. And right now, oh my god, actually look at the income tab as well. viOLet rocketing ahead here of Bomber.
Wow, that looks pretty. We do see 14 infestors alive still. Broodlord's now moving up. Bomber does not want to engage this directly. Weirdly, now it's Bomber's turn to try to do some cute counterattacky stuff. He sees everything at the front. Best choice for Bomber is just to retreat. He's just going to pull away, let this do its damage, and hopefully get out a couple more Ravens before those pop up. He just needs those Seeker missiles so badly. And here's Bomber actually stepping right in front and center.
Oh, and I love what viOLet was doing. He actually threw down more infested Terrans, focused down a starport there to be able to limit how much his opponent's going to have in terms of that air dominance. And oh, the Corruptor's parked over the starports here. That's going to be really, really annoying for Bomber whilst going for this transition, as his entire natural gets absolutely devastated.
Bomber going for that tank counterattack. viOLet just counterattack. Remember we were talking about earlier? viOLet loves those base trades. We see an attempted infestor play. It's not going to happen. Bomber now taking out bases all over the map with, weirdly, the fastest units on the map are tanks right now.
That is very, very strange. Unless you count Broodlings, of course. They move pretty fast. Oh, but look at that fungal growth on the Vikings. Over down between the third. He's going to be able to rip them all to shreds. viOLet with a beautiful move there.
Oh my god, 9 Vikings, all that remains. Oh, full energy Ravens get taken down. Seeker missiles will not be able to turn the tide of this battle. There are still the 8 Thors out, and at the far right side, Bomber starts to rebuild. The only way that he can possibly hope to do this is to delay this Broodlord push as it slowly marches to the right side of the map. He needs that Raven energy. Right now, viOLet, both players down to starting game income levels.
That was just so ridiculously cost-effective for viOLet. He's now pushing forward, trying to take out as many of these bases as possible. But look, I mean, with these siege tanks, I mean, couldn't he just have like 2 Broodlords following them around the entire map and just like slowly nibbling at them? That would maybe work out.
I mean, this is actually going to do a lot of damage from Bomber. And now with Bomber being able to have his level 3 attack versus the level 1 Carapace, he actually kills off Broodlords quite quickly as long as the Thors don't glitch in terms of AI and begin shooting the Broodlings. But Bomber is taking down the main as viOLet's viOLet is overbuilding. He's overbuilding Broodlords. I don't like this. Oh my god, he's going to run the risk of having too many Broodlords.
He does indeed, but he has the infestors. So, I mean, if he can land the fungals on Vikings that are once again clumped up, that's going to be very, very nice for him. The siege tanks still demolishing everything of viOLet. They've gone completely unhindered. They're just walking around the map. And look at the mini-map. It's like some kind of Picasso painting. There's just pop colors everywhere. And he's trying to expand everywhere as well. I'm pretty sure we saw a game like this in the very first day, actually, now that I think about it.
This is just insanity. This game it makes no sense. All the buildings in the main have been killed off. Most of the drones are burrowed. Looks like Bomber has an income and viOLet doesn't. As we come to the Army Supply tab, we see that they're actually quite even in terms of that supply. But Bomber has no more depots. He's going to have to lift, and he does retreat with everything.
And for now, still trying to find every single base here for viOLet. But there's still 1,200-ish minerals saved up here for viOLet. So you can throw down way more hatcheries. Right now, lovely fungal growth shutting down the rest of that location here. And these Broodlords, I mean, I don't realistically know how you engage this with the army that Bomber has. He has 15 Vikings, and he needs to spread them so well. Otherwise, those fungal growths are once again going to bring them down.
There's 5 SCVs. There's an orbital command landing on the right side now. Corruptors try to engage. Bomber, does he elect to try to do some control against these Corruptors? It looks like he is. He needs to run a little bit faster than that because the Corruptors are continuing to be on his tail. Drones running around. This is hilarious.
There's just hatcheries going down everywhere. There's 3 hatcheries in production just at the bases that are, you know, used to be bombers. He has so many broodlords right now. I guess, you know, really nice volleys of javelin missiles will be able to take them out from those Thors if they're clumped up once again. But both players are just dancing around the map, trying to find every single building of their opponents. He finds a pocket of drones here, and there's just buildings everywhere. I don't know how anybody's going to finish this anytime soon.
I can't wait for Bomber to win and someone to create a post on Reddit being like, "See, mech's viable."
Well, you know, it's good. It's good, man.
viOLet got a little over-eager, stepping towards the middle, and it looks like the final confrontation might be now. There's no scan, there's no detection. There is scan, there is detection. He's able to take it out, and that's the cluster that he needs. viOLet clustering all his broodlords as tightly together as possible. A big blunder. Some spotting starports will see the action. Infestors take that down immediately. There's just one more scan remaining right now.
Bomber has to be so careful here. He's running the risk. He's running that fine line. Those Vikings clump up so well, and those Infestors just are looking for that little angle to be able to fungal them, lock them in place, and bring them down with extra fungals.
Oh, there's one fungal getting Commander Thor.
23 kills on that Thor right now. Not too bad a job there by him, but brings out down more buildings. Again, though, he has one command center, so he's not being revealed yet. Neither player being revealed here. So both players just flying around, trying to kill buildings where they can do.
Oh no, the fungal he's been trying to avoid all game long lands. And poor Bomber, who microed his heart out, will lose all the Vikings.
And you could see there, viOLet knew that that was the key. He was throwing those fungals down a little bit quicker than you normally would do in order to be able to keep it chained there. So important and so well done there by viOLet. Right now pushing forwards towards the remaining amount of this mech force. And with that many broodlords, Bomber down to 30 supply, 100 supply in the lead, even the neural parasite. GG!
viOLet takes game number 1 in a convincing fashion. Wow.
Wow, that was pretty impressive in itself. viOLet, I mean, Bomber looked really, really good there from the start. From humble beginnings in that start of that game where viOLet was slightly overreacting to that potential bunker play, to, you know, having a ridiculously long 30-minute game where you have mech going all over the place and trying to defeat a million expansions going down at once.
I mean, that's... You know, we'd like to talk about adjustment and series, but there's really nothing you learn from a game like that, save perhaps that viOLet has a really good understanding of how to beat mech.
Yeah.
Bomber talking a little bit on stage, getting ready for his game number 2, where I really think that going back to his aggressive marine tanking roots, I mean, Bomber really is like an aggressive version of MVP.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, he is able to... Although that being said, let's not discredit the aggression that MVP can bring out as well. If he wants to, he can really ramp up that double drop play and stuff like that. Now, Bomber executing and showing us there a little bit of the flavor of his mech play. And clearly, Bomber is no slouch with mech play as well in comparison to that bio.
I also like to let everyone know that while we are up here doing commentary for this match of viOLet up against Bomber, Tastosis is over in the Intel booth now. Yeah. So if you want to go to the Intel booth, it's actually right there. For any of you who can see me, it's that way. And we see, I see all the nerds standing up behind me in the little monitor right here. Hello, yes, you are indeed able to get signatures and photos from Tastosis.
Yep. And also go over to twitter.com, hashtag IEM Patriot, and tell us basically why you think you should be able to win this lovely little set of 8 gig memory from Patriot. A huge thanks to them for sponsoring the Intel Extreme Masters, as well as BenQ, Twitch, and Intel. Really awesome for those guys.
We just got word that the next map is going to be on Daybreak. We did get the chance to see Supernova pull off some successful mech against Vortex on this map. It's a little easier to manage than the huge wide open attack path worthy Entombed Valley. But Bomber is much more known for taking that center expansion first, attacking like crazy with Marine Tank and low medevac counts. Let's go ahead and hop into game number 2.
And we will do, and up to the top right-hand corner, ladies and gentlemen, on Daybreak, spawning here as your blue Zerg. Give it up for Azubu's viOLet.
And down in the bottom left, clawing his way from the open bracket to first in his group, his first match of the day, the Red Bull sponsored athlete, Star Tails Bomber. You know, we do talk a lot about how Elfie, viOLet, getting the chance to be that individual sponsor, but
Yeah.
Bomber on Star Tail and was the first big StarCraft gamer picked up by Red Bull.
Yeah, that's
It's
very
like,
true.
He has like an individual and a team sponsorship. Can it get any better?
They sponsor the full team now, don't they, I believe?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so Bomber, they're leading the way for Red Bull to be able to come along and sponsor them. And, you know, I think it's a very, very applicable choice in Bomber. Bomber is one of those Koreans that, whilst you don't see him too much at international tournaments, he has a great personality. Whenever, you know, you see him ecstatic at the end of a game, he's always dropping all the mules, creating his scan flowers, and just like telling them, get out of my game, this is my game, I have won, go, go, go. And it's really nice to see there. Bomber has been quite the character.
Oh, really lucky
my
plant
God.
there by Bomber. Oh my God, that actually should not have gone down. He somehow managed to shove the drone out of the way, pushing him like young children at a school line, getting each other out of each other's way to be first. Bomber manages to plant down that command center. And you know, I remember what you were talking about, dropping the mules at the end of a one game and this sort of thing. I still remember in the GSL code. Oh!
That's a bit annoying.
I still remember in the GSL Code A finals when Bomber went up against MVP.
Yeah.
In game number 1, it was a really tense match. And all of a sudden, Bomber drops a man or mule right there in the front.
Yeah.
And then he dropped another and another. And he dropped over 20 during the course of this nail-biting game where he eventually won. And I was just so blown away at that bravado. I mean, everyone loves the moment where you've killed every worker he has. He has a 0% chance of winning. Yeah, I have a man or mule. He's doing it when the game's clearly losable. It's just so bold.
It is, but to be honest, I'm waiting for the one day where someone doesn't have enough scouting information to realize how close a game is. Then Bomber comes along and drops like 10 mana mules, and then they're like, oh God, he must be so far ahead. And then they're just like, GG, I'm leaving.
All right. Oh God, there is no better feeling than being man or mule than then winning. I will admit. Yeah, this is the play I like out of viOLet. He's going to be opening up with around 8 or 9 roaches and then falling straight back to droning. We saw him accidentally lose with this play versus MVP, but viOLet, all he needs to do is join these bases with creep, and then he'll be okay. Then he can get his 3 or 4 queens to just wishy-wash their way back and forth for safety.
Yeah, and it's also really important here that while StarTale Bomber is getting his factory up, and it will be probably going into the Hellion play, which isn't too good against that.
Wait.
Why isn't he making a reactor?
There is no reactor. What's going on?
But what I wanted to point out is that it's so important to get that second supply depot right here on that ramp when you're actually going up against this, because this bunker, if you don't have that and you can't pin your units in a position where the bunker is still firing at them, then this positioning just becomes so redundant here for Bomber, and it was completely pointless the whole time.
This is something special that we're seeing out of Bomber. This is something just cool. He's basically going to be going for a Banshee play, as you might imagine. The Banshees are what save you against a roach push like this. There would allow you to continue to apply pressure. So he is both going to get the unit that will save him without over-committing to the units, these Hellions, that will lose it for him, and their Bomber sees this stream of roaches coming in. Oh, Bomber's got to be licking his lips right now. He realizes that he has got his opponent right where he wants him. Well, he has to build the Banshee first. There we go.
And there we go. That second supply depot, finishing up that wall, so important. We've seen actually once or twice that not be there in this tournament, and it's really cost people their entire lives in some of these games. And for now, viOLet will start the pressure, killing off 1 or 2 workers here. That Hellion still spotting more roaches flooding across the map. And for now, viOLet needs to do what he can before that Banshee ends up coming out.
Wow, this is turning out to be quite effective for viOLet. I mean, everything works logically on paper from Bomber, but I mean, roaches just kill things quickly, and that's something that you really have to account for. Back up, bunker up on the high ground, and here the tank pops up. Keep in mind, MVP was able to win handily after that much damage was dealt, but it looks like viOLet is a little bit more comfortably prepared, building 2 queens at once, but still no creep join. He needs that creep join, or he is going to potentially suffer a loss similar to what he'd lost before.
Yeah, these Banshees, I mean, he has killed 9 workers with that Roach attack, but these Banshees, they're designed to be able to equalize the odds from this point on against what we're seeing here from viOLet. So they're going to head out across the map. Starter Bomber for now grabbing that 3rd expansion, but at the same time, it's still 40 drones here to 30 workers, so he really needs some good kills here with this Banshee.
He really needs to make sure this tank doesn't die. More of those workers are under threat from viOLet. He is going to get every single one of them. viOLet knows the edge he has right now.
Be able to flee away. And where's that Banshee actually? Okay, it's been spotted here by the Overlord, so he can take the precautions against that necessary. Meanwhile, we actually have 1-1 being upgraded here for viOLet, and he's adding on that macro hatchery. So it looks like he's going to go for a very heavy Ling mid-game here, focusing a lot on that lava as he goes into the middle, and actually adding on the Baneling nest as well, just to, well, probably transition into that very, very standard mid-game.
Oh, looks like the Roaches still being annoying, still picking off workers. Most cost-effective Roaches ever. I mean, Roaches are the opposite of cost-effective. They're just these cheap, beefy, annoying units that puke on things and get you wins every now and again. But here, viOLet making them stretch nice and far. And if there's one unit that I would pin as the bomber unit, it would be the tank against Zerg. He gets so many tanks so early. He has he of all Terrans is the worst to do early Roach Baneling all-ins against, because he just gets a ton of tanks early. And it's just like, yeah, attack me. I built tanks, man. I mean, there are no StarCraft 1 tanks. Those things were awesome.
Space controllability in StarCraft 1 very strong for Terran here. I mean, it's still strong for Terran in StarCraft 2. It's just a case of, you know, things have just the epic mobility that they do in this game as opposed to, you know, StarCraft 1. Like, Zerglings are able to close the gap a little bit quickly here, and other than that, you know, just floods of units able to come in on, you know, one control group as opposed to how you had to operate things in StarCraft 1.
Bomber now getting into his standard macro mode, the 3 barracks formation, 2 with reactor, 1 with tech lab, getting them add-ons, slowly adding on tanks, and per usual in bomber style, this starport will not see a reactor for quite some time. He's going to focus more on upgrades, getting +2/+2, as we see the armory planting there by the 2 engineering bays. And viOLet very smartly just keeping an eye on that 3rd base of his opponents while getting up the 3rd base of his own.
And I love the addition of that Viking. It's great. You don't see this often enough, although that being said, you were seeing it way more than we used to. As for
so
now,
good.
yeah, just one being able to, in essence, gain a little bit more map presence back against how many Overlords normal Zergs end up putting on the map. So we have the 2/2, actually +2 weapons just on the way here for Bomber. Not saying that +2 armor just yet, but he's sticking to that bio play, and with this drop potential that he's going to be going for here, it could stretch viOLet a little bit thinly.
There's the forward command center placement, and oh, whoopsie daisies, Bomber should have checked here first and foremost. I'm seriously not an expansion, ignore me. Looks like it's going to be a little bit of a difficult read for viOLet.
And one of those biodome things, like you see right below you, Overlord. Don't worry, just ignore everything that's going on here. But this is a great play for Bomber. He, again, we've said it many a time. It allows him to. Ooh, wait a minute, Zerglings are running in, but they're not going to be able to do too much. But it allows him to be able to not only attack down paths where he wants to defend as well, making it a little bit easier to be able to retreat back, to be able to defend this as the Zerglings run in to try and kill off what they can, getting a few SCVs as well.
That's good. Oh, that was so smooth.
But also, he can take that free base eventually as a 4th right behind it. So very nice play by Bomber.
And look at that, Bomber brilliantly de-sieging a tank to make sure he didn't accidentally kill one of his own. Bomber picks off an expansion that was attempted by viOLet. Viking still being annoying as all hell.
Yeah, and now we have 2 Spore Crawlers actually being added on here to be able to zone out any kind of drop play that will be coming along. viOLet really does not want to have any damage done to these bases. So important for him, creating lovely little positions of defense there at the extremities of these 3 bases. And aside from that, 2/2 is going to be finishing up for him, and he's getting that Ultralisk Cavern. So he's been teching up furiously behind this in comparison to what we're seeing from Bomber. And Bomber doesn't, he does know about the Hive. Ah, very useful.
Wow, this looks like Bomber's taking the long route all the way around. And I don't know how much I like that. Right now, Bomber has literally no ability to defend. If there's some kind of attempted swing counter, which viOLet is very well known for. There's the scam, and now Bomber starts to step down onto creep. I don't know how much I like this, Killars. This is looking really risky for the Korean Terran.
Yeah, it could be very dangerous indeed. Overextending onto creep is one of the biggest downfalls of Terrans from time to time, and here we go. He's actually going to roll in. A little bit staggered in this attack here by viOLet. The Marines microing back as best they can do, but the siege tanks fall so rapidly, and the rest of this is completely demolished by viOLet.
Gosh, I just don't know about that play from Bomber. Bomber's setting himself up for a push through this destructible rock. I mean, this roundabout play didn't deny a fourth. It didn't kill anything. It got a couple of creep tumors at an area that's the easiest on the entire map for viOLet to replenish the creep tumors. So these front lines where viOLet will struggle. Now we see another second attempted push from Bomber. I like this angle quite a bit more, but still, it's a very weak angle given the way that Bomber's forcers are set up.
Yeah, Kaiser's plating going down here for these Ultralists now with that 3-3 on the way. So viOLet shutting down the aggression very handsomely. He was able to even shut down a very nice drop with Fungals at that second a little bit ago, whilst he was able to clean up all that force down to the south originally. And for now, it looks like Bomber wants to push forwards once again, but there's Ultralists here. And this is a very scary force with the extra Ultralists coming in from the east here. And he's going to be able to push forward. Zergling's closing the gap with those siege tanks, and the rest of the Marines get shredded up by those Kaiser blades.
God, viOLet is looking just unstoppable in this tournament. I mean, every little move that he's been doing has just been absolutely a pleasure to watch. I mean, these little control attacks where most people wouldn't even attempt them because at most you'll get 100 minerals of damage and at worst you'll lose 500, but he always gets that little 100 minerals of advantage. The one thing that Bomber can pat himself on the back for is the fact that he has locked viOLet out of 8 geysers for a long time. viOLet has been unable to get those extra geysers up, and as a result, it's a little bit Zergling heavy.
That's a really accurate read there, actually, because, I mean, again, Zergs feel most comfortable when they're on that 8 gas geysers. I mean, that being said, though, viOLet has been able to still get up quite a lot of Ultralists here. I would love to... How many Queens does he have? He has 3 right now. Do they have any extra energy? I would love to see him just kind of march down there with those if they did, in order to be able to give a few transfuses to those Ultralists, because as soon as they have full health, they are such meaty units with that 3-3 finishing up in just a little bit. Adrenal glands on the way as well for those Zerglings, just to be able to flood in, and once those Zerglings connect with the siege tanks, it gets so difficult for Bomber to really do much of anything.
Bomber now transferring all his SCVs the long way around. Planetary Fortress about halfway done right now, but viOLet's going to be hitting from the bottom and counterattacking from the top. Oh my goodness, this top Planetary Fortress is in a ton of trouble. What angle does Bomber go along?
Going to be able to rip up so many of these SCVs once again. A really nice little move here by viOLet, and the Planetary Fortress is now completely under siege. Very nice move there by Bomber, not letting that go at all, cancelling and lifting up.
And now Bomber is going to have to completely re-begin the process of that Planetary Fortress with a lot less workers. 31 workers killed off by viOLet thus far in this game. Oh my god, the Ultralist count at 10. Big ultra numbers, and now the Zerglings yet again are 3-3 upgrades.
Yeah, but Bomber has been allowed to max out here. Yes, viOLet does have the bigger bank, and actually Bomber's going to move out here, but he needs to establish himself a fantastic position here to be able to deal with all those Baneleys morphing in as well. That is going to be devastating if they're able to connect, but Bomber has shown time and time again in this tournament that his splitting is second to none.
While this attack's going on, there's an attack at the back, and viOLet has decided this is a good time to spring in. The Fungals nab most of the units. The Ultralists trying to step in the front line, slowly falling, and with Fungal Ultra, viOLet just wrecks the front, remaxes immediately, and Bomber is left with only a handful of Marauders.
120 supply right now for Bomber. There's 58 Zerglings and 5 Ultralists being produced here. Nice Fungal to catch 1 or 2 of these medevacs. The very big, meaty, costly units there. So he will be able to take a few of those down. And right now, the more medevacs he takes out, the better this Great Aspire is going to be. Because then, eventually, he has to commit to either producing medevacs or producing Vikings for when those Broodlords come along, which is always really annoying for a Terran to really deal with.
That's exactly what we saw in MC versus Koss. Koss trying to build those Vikings to deal with the Colossus. Had 1 medevac out, not enough to repair. Same story for Bomber, but viOLet, I don't even think it's going to give Bomber enough time. He's going to start barreling down with that big ultra count.
For now that Greater Spire on the way in just a little bit here. There's so many Ultralisks. I cannot believe how much damage this is going to be able to do very soon as they do swing in once again here. Bomber on the back foot. So many Ultralisks crashing against the wall here of the Terran. And right now there's just not enough units for him to deal with this. 11 Marauders, 15 Marines, 5 siege tanks. It's not going to help out as these Ultralisks just chase them back to the natural.
And viOLet instantly remaxing, continuing to rally. Everything's lifting, but amazingly, Bomber's starting to swing around, might be able to stabilize at the front, but not when these 54 Zerglings hatch. The Zerglings just greedily gobbling up every SCV. Vikings land. I mean, Bomber doesn't even know what to do with these units half the time. And now the Ultralisk rushing up to try to join that orbital command. GG!
Oh, viOLet. 2 games up in this best of 5, taking out Bomber potentially here. And again, you know, as I said before, these guys have only met once previously. They've only met in tournament play at least. They met once during the GSL bracket stage, a group stage, where, you know, viOLet was dispatched off by Bomber very, very easily. Since then, things have changed. Since then, viOLet has stood up and really stepped up his game here. 2 games up against Bomber right now. Very, very scary.
I wouldn't count Bomber to be in a well, I wouldn't count him out, but I certainly would put him in that sort of psychologically strained mode. Game 1, just can't read into it too much. Could have gone either way. Neither player was mining for 10 minutes, but cool first game. Game 2, Bomber had a smart plan that just got slapped around right at the start. I mean, the idea is, you rather than going for Hellion Bunker or Hellion Banshee, you go for Banshee, then followed up with a tank. What does this mean? Most of the time, the Zerg will overreact, will prepare for Hellion Banshee, and then you have all these tanks and a faster third base, and you can go into that standard normal play. But instead, Bomber just got smacked down by a bunch of roaches right at the start. What an odd way for viOLet to just exploit this completely unusual build from Bomber. It was really clean by viOLet, but really annoying in Bomber's shoes.
It was indeed. So we're going to be jumping on to Game 3 here in just a little second, but I think we might actually be throwing over to Jarrett. So let's throw it over to Jarrett, guys, and we'll be back in just a sec.
Hi guys, just here to quickly say that Tasteless and Artosis are doing an autograph signing right now at the Intel booth, which is right where I'm pointing. There's like a round cylinder looking thing. So if you want their autographs, their pictures and stuff, that's the place to do it. All right, back to the game.
Welcome back, guys, here to the Intel Extreme Masters Gamescom casting booth with myself, Kyle Aris.
And me, Day 9. I'm really excited that the next map is one of Bomber's best maps, Metropolis, where we have seen games continue until people's tongues have turned to sand.
And that is exactly how I felt once or twice. I'll be honest, I do like the big macro games. They can be very, very fun, but when you get tongue-tied a little bit, going into like a 50-minute game, it can be a bit strenuous.
Well, as we head into this next match, do note that it is match point. Fully expect Bomber to go passive mode and do this cool late-game Raven play. Let's introduce our players. In the right position, on the individual sponsored team, Azubu, it is going to be viOLet.
And spawning down to the southern position, he's spawning as our red Terran. He needs your support, guys, here. 2 games down. Give it up for StarTale's Bomber. So Bomber Loading up onto Metropolis here. Again, you know, he's very, very strong on this map, or can be. I think he can bust out really a multitude of tactics on here. He could quite easily go for that bio play and, you know, just draw it out to the point where he gets those 5 bases, goes for the double drop potential. And I think Bomber was really one of the Terrans that really started to incorporate that a lot into their play while still making their presence felt in the middle of the map. It's so easy for people to say, well, I'll just drop here once, and then I'll just drop in the second location at a different time, not all at the same time, and then from there on it's not as effective at all as it would be if both of those things hit at exactly the same point.
Yeah, Bomber's just brilliant at syncing all that stuff up. I mean, we saw him do hints of that earlier in his bracket play, but thus far in today's games, it's just looked a little bit dry in terms of Bomber's execution. It's been very much so a surprise to him that there was that Roach play coming at him early. But let's be honest, if you're going up against viOLet, he's going to be doing that as often as possible. Bomber now going for another one barracks expand, the most classic, typical style of expand. So I would imagine it's going to be your typical game.
And with that spawning pool going down, it's funny because viOLet actually always builds the spawning pool right there on this map.
Yeah.
It always does. It creates a little bit of a nice wall. That opening between those two gas geysers can be vulnerable to, say, for example, if someone actually goes for, you know, Helium play, actually darting around near that mineral line. And from there on, he just adds extra buildings in the back in order to be able to really separate that off.
Yeah, I mean, it's always important to note how your building placement right at the start can actually affect everything that's going on at the late of the game, especially for Protoss planting down those pylons. It's kind of cool. Oh, nice, going for the double refinery play and instantly repelling that Overlord. In fact, viOLet didn't even get to see a single refinery go down. I think we're actually going to see Bomber go Hellion Banshee. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it can work out pretty well for him, and especially, again, since he didn't see one gas, never mind 2 gas, that is always something that you have to really kind of expect, and he's trying to find another angle to be able to push in, but again, Bomber knows the positioning of that Overlord. He knows it's trying to shark around the bottom corner, as long as he's actually kept an eye on that Marine down to the south.
Bomber looks like he's going to be hiding an SCV up at this top side. I like this. I highly doubt we're going to see a factory go down here. That would be so cool. No way, viOLet. Oh, hi, buddy. How's your corner, buddy? Looks like he's going to kill that immediately. Bomber now going Hellion. Yay.
There's a very nice little scout out there by viOLet. Very methodical in that defense. Again, you know, this is the big stage. Everything is on the line here. Despite being 2 games up, he wants to seal this out with a 3-0. He doesn't want to have to go into extra games against Bomber. So he's just being extra careful here, making sure that all the angles are covered, making sure that his opponent is as blind as possible.
I love these 3 Marine push-outs that Bomber does. He does this with like every single one of his builds. Darting forward, darting back, picking off an extra unit here or there, but still eventually winding up with the same defensive setup that's needed. Oh, yes. Oh, Hellion Banshee.
Uh-oh.
Bomber's now getting ready to play a standard style, and that really suits him so well. viOLet really be able to get it down? No. Owned. Oh, look at this. Okay, that was my GSL style excitement.
Legend camera work there. Very nice. As for now, he's actually getting a lot of lings out here. He's actually producing 12 extra lings to complement his already 11. Those guys shred up that SCV, but I mean, with these extra lings going down, he's still got those 2-2 and evolution chambers on the way. He's just going to go for a full ling defense here against these Hellions.
This can work, but Bomber is super on point with this sort of micro. This should actually excite Bomber that he's going to be in this position. Those are some very lined up Zerglings, but of course Bomber going to wait until he has just the right amount of Hellions, and look at that control from both players. So crisp.
Yeah, that little split there is so subtle but so fantastic by viOLet, making sure the lings wouldn't take as much damage as they would have done had they stayed in that initial position. And for now, he's just droning up behind this, adding on Spore Crawlers as well. He knows the event potentials that can come straight after those Hellions, but at the same time, chances are we'll see Bomber actually couple these up with that full frontal push. And it's so difficult to deal with it with just Roach Queen because of the way in how they synergize.
Yeah, I mean, the Hellion Banshee synergy is just so pretty. I love watching it in action. And Bomber actually looks like he's going mech just due to the fact that there's a dangling tech lab here with a barracks attached to nothing that totally looks like he wants to be gearing up for some blue flame play. viOLet now trying to step forward with a queen, but you really need everything at the front lines to deal with this push.
Yeah, and he's actually just going to try and deal with it with Banelings. My apologies for saying approach, as that's normally how you would see it deal with. He does get a nice round on one of those Hellions there, but now just going to try and wiggle his way around this one queen so close to death, almost getting blocked by the jealous queen there, and for now we'll be able to fall back to the safety of this fort.
Oh, Bomber, I don't know how much I like this. He's trapping all of his units up in this top side. This is exactly how we saw 4GG fall.
That Roach Warrant now on the way here for viOLet as well. The Zergling's actually going to flood in. He's trying to walk the Spore Crawler over to the creep to save the space from the imminent danger impending. And now will running with these Zerglings. Nice control there, though, by Bomber, keeping them alive and doing a lot of damage to those Zerglings.
There we see one queen falling, but Bomber, all his Hellions are trapped at this backside. Desperately, Bomber tries to get his Banshee Hellion into a good position, but it's at this back where the Zerglings are surrounding, and viOLet is going to just annihilate these Hellions.
Oh, a nice cleanup there, saving that hatchery, saving any more kind of potentials that would occur from that. He's going to be able to send his drones over there soon. And oh, the Banshee actually flies into a Spore Crawler. Doesn't want to be there too long at that natural, but is able to find a little bit of wiggle room, trying to find some more angles to be able to pick off drones here and there. But viOLet, with the constant aggressive defense, will be able to shoot away with those extra queens.
viOLet looks so good in this matchup. I mean, he made 30 lings at the start of the game and then just didn't really do much with them. And still was in an amazing position. And now Bomber looks like he's doing very much so what 4GG did, except on this map, in this position, Bomber is much more comfortable. He's already very close to getting siege tanks with siege mode, and I just don't anticipate Bomber attacking anytime soon.
I mean, one characteristic of what we've seen Bomber doing here is the fact that he was so aggressively pumping those SCVs. He's up to 58 SCVs right now to the 58 drones. It's oftentimes you will see the Zerg in a little bit of a lead here, but he just wasn't really able to make use of this third hatchery for quite a while due to that zoning out by Bomber. So despite losing those units, a little bit of indirect damage from there in comparison to where he finds himself economically.
You know, I want to come back to something I said just a moment ago. I said Bomber's probably not going to be attacking for a while. I mean, probably until the 30-minute mark, Bomber won't be attacking. This fourth command center is very atypical of his play, but the long late-term play where he transitions up to Raven and then tries to win with Raven Marine Ghost, that is typical of his play on this map. So this looks like another way of saying, yeah, you know, let's just get that late gameplay started right now. But unfortunately for him, he's going to be up against some Mutalisk play. We see 6 Mutalisk in production. Spire is done. 2-2 and Baneling Nest en route.
Now, I do like the Mutalisk transition, but I think what we might end up seeing here, he's actually throwing down the Infestation Pit straight away after it. So this looks very similar to what we see Vortex do in this match. He just sprinkles in those Mutalisks to put his opponent on that back foot, and then from there is able to transition to that Ling Infester style with those heavy melee upgrades to then eventually transition into Ultralisks. But personally, I'm a big fan of Broodlords on this map because of the way in which the architecture works in the middle of the map, those ravines and those kind of cliffs, but we'll see what he wants to go from there.
God, every bone in my body wants to call him a Guardian. I miss that unit so much. Mutalisk morph into Guardians, you know. Wouldn't that be cool, huh? Yeah, remember those days? You didn't have to, like, build this non-Mutalisk unit to get your Guardians up. Oh, God, that was so cool. Imagine if Mutalisk turned into Broodlords. I don't know why I think this is so important to emphasize in commentary right now, but just picture that for a moment.
I don't want to. I think that might be a bit broken.
Oh, God. You sure don't play Zerg, Kalaris. Looks like Bomber will repel this threat of a small number of Mutalisks. Looks like a gigantic flub from Bomber. Just oh, God, that is the biggest error I've seen Bomber make all tournament long. His entire build right now desperately needs 3-3 upgrades. And there he is just now starting it. Oh, God, what a painful moment.
For now, we have those 7 Infestors on the way. Hive morphing in here, as well as those Banelings being morphed in. So I would love, as soon as this Hive finishes up, for him to throw down Nautilus Cavern. But again, as I said before, Broodlord's very, very potent on this map. You can just literally sit on the edge of your opponent's bases over these ravines to be able to just pick away at very, very key infrastructure, to be honest with you. Although that being said, you know, Bomber's the kind of guy who is gonna know, you know, there's a starport, there's a Spire, sorry, out in play. There's always the potential for those Broodlords to be coming out, so no doubt we'll see another starport down anytime soon to be able to complement this first one, and then from there he's able to build a lot of Vikings if he needs that transition.
I'm still expecting mass Raven out of Bomber. Did it at the Red Bull Battlegrounds. Would not be surprised to see him do it here. Actually, I would be surprised to see him do anything else, honestly. Planetary Fortress now down. Bomber's using these little Marini dudes to just clean everything up. Now, how is viOLet going to be playing this up? It looks like we see that he's going Ultralisk Zergling, but this would require him to be an attacking player. He's not yet really done anything with his Spire, so he's probably just going to try to bring the noise and kill off Bomber right now.
Indeed, as he goes for a really nice surround on a lot of those Marines. I love the bunker placement, though, as well here from Bomber. Will be forced to retreat for now, and the Marines just swing in from every angle, forcing viOLet away. Wow.
Oh. I see 2 starports, Killaris. I'm excited. I'm getting the Gitchy.
Although that being said, it didn't work out for him too well in game number 1 once those fungals landed. So really needs to be very adamant about splitting his units here and not being scouted out too soon as well. That would be very important.
Wow, Bomber doing a push. Rarely see him do it like this on this map. Big surprise. 6 Ultralisk producing right now for Azubu's viOLet. He's also taking a 5th base. No player's really made a play for any of the islands at this point.
Oh, gonna swing in once again. He gets good surface area on those frontal siege tanks, but not gonna be able to clean up too much more. Those Marines shredding up everything there.
Got every one of those tanks, though. Very nice.
And the thing that's actually going on here, though, is the fact that, now he's just transitioning into those Marauders. I was going to say he was neglecting them for quite a while there, but now he's transitioning into them. Really needs those up very quickly to be able to deal with this Ultralisk force.
Still behind on that armor upgrade. Bomber clearing out as much creep as he can. He's not moving forward with these siege tanks. Looks like, he's going into the drop play. Bomber's splitting himself up.
But the problem is, didn't he do that like over the presence of creep? Actually no, he just did not have the vision of that going over that creep. But now he sees these medevacs heading everywhere. He doesn't know that this one's in the 5th though, but he still has some banelings already positioned there to be able to deal with it.
Bomber's got to be careful with the control, and he is not, but upgrades. In the meantime, big engagement from viOLet attempted, but denied by this rapid retreat from Bomber.
Yeah, meanwhile, we have that double drop going down in the main here, trying to push forwards with that. But the Ultralisk continuing this aggression in the middle of the map right now, trying to bring down the wall here of Bomber, as there are a few Ravens here to be able to try and deal with this along with his bio contingent. But is it going to be enough against that many Ultralisks and Infestors?
Instant target fire on the spawning pool, and it will likely fall down. But the spawning pool falls down. But Infestor Ultra up in the main base. Mega Fungals land. Can Bomber recover? There's so much that viOLet can produce at this point, just not Zergling. So Bomber's going to hope that these siege tanks are enough to keep him alive a little bit longer. A good defensive spot for Bomber. He just needs to rebuild a little bit.
That 3-5 obliterating this bio here with the upgrades for the Ultralisk. So important. Look at this flood of Zerglings coming in here for viOLet, able to constantly put Bomber on this back foot once again. And he's done so much damage. He got so many good fungal growths off on all of the bioforce of his opponent. These Ultralisks just killing everything. And right now he's just ripping up this 3rd base as well.
We've seen so many 3-0s in a row, and viOLet might be doing the 3rd one of the day. But Bomber has a small force of Marine Marauder, taking out all the Ultras, the Infested Terrans being the big damage dealers in this fight. Bomber still has a decent economy, has 40 SCVs, but has a lot of those orbital commands. But this one Ultra working through a lot of SCVs all on his own.
I'm still really scared for Bomber, though. That amount of Marines this late on, 43 Marines, is going to get shut down so easily by 11 Infestors if he's not able to split absolutely perfectly. And then once they get fungled in place, those, again, massive Kaiser Blades of those Ultralisks come along to be able to say, "Nummy, nummy, yum time." Don't know why I said that. It's okay, don't worry.
A lot of Ultralisks, Infestors out on the map, but energy's not optimal for doing these big busts. Generally, you want close to full on over half of them.
Yeah, that's so strong a composition right now from viOLet. I don't know how he's going to be able to deal with it. He has 3 Ravens, but to be honest, Ravens aren't really what you need to be able to deal with this. They don't really get it fully going. Against Ultralisks, they're not that good. Against Infestors, they can be good. But Infestors don't even clump up too well either. And the splash of Hunter-Seeker missiles, if he has it, is not enough to be able to really fend off those numbers.
What Bomber really needs is those forward planetary fortresses to hold those positions. Right now, he's just relegated to these back defenses, trying to position himself well. Doing auto turrets, there is no Seeker missile upgrades. He can't do a huge blast to pick off all those Infestors. And we see viOLet starting to dart forward, ripping down that tank line. But as these infested Terrans pop up, the Infestors are now basically out of energy, and Bomber can reposition and use basic Marine medevac to just pick this force off.
Yeah, he's got 23 Marines still on the way here with those 6 and 7 Marauders now. But these Ultras still shutting down quite a bit of the operations at this base. There is still the base up to the northern position here, which will be a bit hard to engage into because of the way in which those Ultra commands are positioned. But again, just viOLet constantly battering down Bomber. He is trying to go for a drop up in that north base, and he's doing quite a bit of damage with it, killing off a load of drones as well as a Queen, but still 100 supply almost down at this point.
Gosh, I mean, even with all these workers killed, Bomber is in the worst of bad spots. There's so much resources in the bank for viOLet, up at over 3,000 gas, only now deciding that it's a good time to go for that transition to Broodlord. Yeah. And this finally is looking more and more like Bomber's good spot. He wants this spread at the front. This is unfortunately not a planetary fortress. A couple of Lings will step in for viOLet, but the Ultra count is not as high as before. There's only 4 out on the map. I think Bomber's going to be able to stabilize if he can hold off this attack.
Well, here we go as the Zergling's flooding once again. He gets the orb and just retreats for now. I don't think we ever mentioned that the creep spread for viOLet is actually ridiculous. If you look on the map, it's like got tentacles and everything like that. He just wraps around the entire map here. So difficult for Bomber to deal with. So difficult for him to move out on the map because he has to constantly clear up this if he even wanted to. Never mind this defensive position that he's had to be thrown into by viOLet's constant aggression.
I mean, this is a gross spot for Bomber. We were talking so much about how hard it is to attack, how no one really does it on this map. And viOLet is just cross-map sprinting back to back to back to back.
It's almost as if viOLet is playing exactly how you don't play this map. Most people just sit around, just build a 200 army and go. But viOLet has been so aggressive all game long.
Look at this, he's just finding every little hole in Bomber's defense. Literally slipping Zerglings in where they don't belong.
Oh, even burrowing some there to make it horrendously difficult for him to continue mining operations there once these Zerglings get cleaned up. If Bomber dropped a scan, that would be absolutely amazing. But for now, few Mutalisks actually catching a drop down to the south, and they pick off that medevac. Those 3 Mutalisks that have been idle all game long pick another medevac off.
God, viOLet is in total domination this game. I mean, I know he was joking about Zerg Imba, but this is a clearly viOLet Imba. I mean, your race cannot give you map awareness in the way that viOLet has. And look at this great play to burrow trick. Bomber again getting this expansion shut down.
Oh, indeed. 59 workers killed right now for viOLet as his opponent dwindling up the 37 SCVs to the 87 drones. He's been able to build up quite a nice bio army here, whilst viOLet has just been re-establishing himself. His Ultralisk Cavern, did he get another Ultralisk Cavern in the production tab just then?
Yeah, there's one up here. I believe there's another one hiding
Nidus
somewhere.
Network.
Show me the Nidus.
Oh yeah, he actually made a second Ultralisk Cavern. It's at the third, the Nidus as well.
Nidus Network. And also Broodlords look like they're heading to the back of the main as well.
I love that. Not enough people do that. We saw that from another Zerg recently, and I can't remember who. Startail Curious versus Startail Squirtle in the TSL4. Just using a few Broodlords to be able to pick away at the infrastructure of his opponent with 2 Broodlords on Daybreak.
Oh, he's Nidus warming right here. Bomber has also built up his own force of death, almost at 3-3-2. Oh, this game's gonna get real weird real fast. Looks like viOLet's gonna try to defend with just Infestors. There's Broodlord, Corruptor, Ultra Infestor, base trade mode going down.
As that Nidus one pops, the Ultralisks flood out here to be able to take out the rest of the infrastructure of Bomber. Meanwhile, he is just giving that up. He's just going for that straight base stride, trying to kill off what he can at these bases. All the drones have burrowed here to try and save themselves, even at that 5th before it even gets hit. And right now, though, those Ultras and Broodlords causing havoc in the main of the Terran.
I mean, economically, the edge goes far, far in Bomber's favor. He's killing off the 2 newer bases of Bomber. Or Bomber's killing off the 2 newer bases of viOLet, but viOLet is not actually killing off the newer bases of Bomber. He's killing off the old main. A lot of infrastructure does fall, but Bomber's getting to clean up a lot of key structures, and he's going to kill off the Nidus network. He's going to trap all those units away. If only he'd scan to kill off the drones, it would be a little more even, but Bomber manages to escape with most of his units.
Meanwhile, Bomber actually supply blocked heavily here by almost 100. He is throwing down extra starports to try and make some kind of transition to be able to deal with those Broodlords, since he has pretty much, I would say, enough ground force to be able to deal with the Ultralisks. It's just a case of when that kind of engagement comes.
Oh, but Bomber! A genius move, runs a couple of Marauders out into the middle of nowhere. Scan, scan, Bomber, scan. Where's your scan? He has to run. Ah.
Oh, that could have been fantastic there for him. He could have got so many key infestors. Had he taken those out, it would have been even easier for him to clean up those Ultralisks later on in this game. But again, I can't help but feel that viOLet maybe shouldn't have gone for this base trade. It's looking really grim for him. This bio is just chewing up every single building he has. He's trying to establish bases down in the middle of the map, but I don't... This is still anyone's game.
12 Brood... I mean, it's Army Supply tab, very even. Most of most of the supply count for viOLet is actually in these burrowed drones hiding at the north side of the map, and with Bomber pulling everything back, I actually think Bomber may be able to pull this off. He just needs to be very careful with his rallies.
How many? I mean, he's trying to get Vikings out as quickly as he can. 7 Vikings in production. Well, 5 Vikings in production to be able to complement the 2 that were already out there. And once he gets those Vikings up and running, there's actually not that many Corruptors left over. He needs to use those fungal growths to kill off the Vikings. Otherwise, those Broodlords are going to be so susceptible to extra damage here. And right now, ripping up, once again, so much of the infrastructure for the final time. This is the last infrastructure he really has, bar these barracks floating away. And Bomber just establishing himself for a potential engagement to come.
Oh my god, Bomber trying to build some SCVs, but he can't. He needs some Mule to repair if he wants to keep that command center alive. In mid, we see a single... Oh my god, killing off that orbital command. This is uncharacteristic sloppiness from Bomber, but my god, this game is really intense. Wow, actually catching off 1 Broodlord. 12 Broodlords do remain. There's the center of Broodlords, and the tanks are caught off guard. Oh, they're going to go for those infestors, and he manages to get 1. Can't get any more, and free tanks as far as viOLet's concerned.
Yeah, that scan was so important there for Bomber, but he just wasn't able to really connect with the rest of them. How much force does Bomber have left here? 16 Marauders, 25 Marines, and 5 Vikings against this crazy Broodlord Ultralisk force, pushing in once again. So many Broodlings raining down here to be able to kill off the rest of this bio, and if this goes down, it's going to be the last bastion of hope here for Bomber. He's trying to push back as far as he can, but those fungals go down, locking them in place against these Ultralisks, and it looks like viOLet is going to be able to take it out. There's not much left for Bomber.
There's almost no anti-air, but there it finally goes down, and viOLet, 2 base trades out of 3 games, gets the win. What a play.
Oh my god. 3-0 against StarTale. Bomber, how does he do it? Bomber's such a formidable opponent, but he just, every single game, I mean, 2 of those games admittedly were ridiculously close. In fact, all of the games were ridiculously close. But I mean, viOLet just ekes it out every time.
I mean, it's kind of funny to note that Elfie went 1-3 with viOLet.
Yeah.
But Bomber unable to even take a single game off. That does mean that viOLet will be the first player in the semifinals, and he's going to be going up against the winner of the next match that we have, MC versus Nerchio.
MC versus Nerchio. I am looking forward to that, guys. I mean, the winner of that going up against viOLet, this bracket is just shaping up to be amazing. I mean, not only do we have MC Nerchio, but later on we're going to have Supernova and Vortex, and then Slivko versus MVP. These games are just so good, Sean.
I can't believe still, not just that viOLet won 3-0, but the way in which he won 3-0, defeating Mech with a base trade, winning that last game against Bio with a base trade. I mean, let's just throw it up to the main stage with Jarrett so we can hear what viOLet has to say.
Our winner, Azubu viOLet. How do you feel right now, man?
I'm so sweat. You guys enjoy my game?
Very well played, very hard, and you're definitely sweaty. In the next round, you're going to meet either MC or Nurchio. Who would you rather meet and why?
Maybe MC, because I want to make a really good game, so MC is more good. GBC is kind of bored. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great answer. Well, congratulations. Best of luck in the next round, and is there anything you want to leave your fans with?
I will win this event. Cheer me, please. Thank you.